The Galactic Exploration Consortium had never seen a Class 15 Deathworld before. Not in 7,000 years of charting the stars. Not in 400,000 surveyed systems. Not once in the entire recorded history of 32 spacefaring civilizations had any species willingly approached a world designated Class 15, the highest tier on the lethality index, reserved for planets so catastrophically hostile to life that the designation itself was considered a warning, a death sentence, a cosmic joke. Class 15 meant, do not approach. Do not orbit. Do not even dream. Warlord Kaelzor of the Vreth Dominion had laughed when the designation came across his command console. A genuine, full-throated laugh that made his crew nervous, because Kaelzor never laughed. Send the probe drones, he ordered. His science officer, a trembling Mreth named Kaelzor, cleared her throat cautiously. Warlord, the consortium protocols strictly forbid. I didn't ask about protocols. Kaelzor's 4 eyes fixed on the swirling blue-green orb on the viewscreen. Beautiful, he thought. Beautiful and completely, utterly dead. Send the drones. The data came back in segments, each one more absurd than the last. The atmosphere was a toxic cocktail, nitrogen, oxygen, trace gases, all at pressures that would crush most known life forms within minutes. The surface temperature swung between -70 and +50 cycles in a single planetary rotation. The oceans, it had oceans, liquid water oceans covering 70% of the surface, teemed with organisms ranging from microscopic to genuinely monstrous. The land masses were carpeted in biological matter, towering carbon fiber structures filled with photosynthetic organisms, predators of every conceivable configuration, parasites, pathogens, fungi capable of reprogramming host nervous systems. There were storms that could shatter a Vreth destroyer's hull plating. There were tectonic forces that reshaped the continents over geological timescales, punctuated by mass extinction events with impressive regularity. There were radiation bursts from the star. There were ice ages. There were impact events. And somehow, in the middle of all that, the drones detected structures. Artificial structures. Kaelzor. Kaelzor's voice had gone very quiet. Tell me those are ancient ruins. Kaelzor's mandibles clicked rapidly, the Mreth equivalent of nervous sweating. They are not ruins, Warlord. Thermal imaging indicates active energy signatures. Electromagnetic transmissions across multiple spectra. And she paused, as if hoping she might be wrong. We are being scanned. The communication request came 4 seconds later. The holographic figure that materialized above Kaelzor's command console was bipedal, bilaterally symmetrical, disturbingly soft-looking, no visible armor plating, no natural weaponry, a thin layer of fabric covering most of the body. 2 forward-facing eyes. A flat face. A small mouth that was, inexplicably, curved upward at the corners. It was smiling. This is Admiral Darian Voss, commanding officer of the Human Unified Fleet, 3rd Sector Division. The translation matrix rendered the words into Vreth with impressive accuracy. The voice was calm, almost warm. We detected your probe drones about 6 minutes ago. Welcome to Earth. Can we help you? Kaelzor stared. Earth. They had a name for it. Of course they had a name for it. They lived here. You live here, he said. It came out less like a statement and more like an accusation. Admiral Voss tilted his head slightly. Born here, actually. Most of us. Though we've spread out a bit since then. He paused. Is something wrong? You look, another pause, as if searching for the right word, surprised. This world is designated Class 15 on the lethality index, Kaelzor said carefully. It is, by every metric available to the Galactic Exploration Consortium, one of the most hostile environments ever catalogued. Voss nodded slowly. Yeah, we've heard that before. 3rd species to tell us, actually. He smiled again, that same unnerving curve of the mouth. We think it's kind of funny. Funny. Well. Voss shrugged, a gesture Kaelzor had never seen before but immediately understood as casual dismissal. We've been living here for about 300,000 years. Give or take. We're used to it. What followed was the most uncomfortable diplomatic briefing Kaelzor had ever experienced, and he had once negotiated a ceasefire while actively bleeding from 4 separate wounds. Voss invited them to orbit. Just like that, come on down, take a look around. Kaelzor sent a shuttle with 8 of his best soldiers, all of them wearing full environmental suits rated for Class 8 conditions, the maximum his fleet carried. The humans met them at the landing site without suits. Without anything, really. Thin fabric. Open faces. Breathing the toxic atmosphere as if it were perfectly comfortable, which, Kaelzor supposed with dawning horror, it was. The lead human, a young one, barely mature by the soft look of its face, extended a hand toward the shuttle team. Lieutenant Mara Chen, Earth Liaison Corps. You must be the Vreth delegation. She smiled. All of them smiled. Are your suits comfortable? I know Earth atmosphere can be a bit thick for some visitors. The Vreth delegation stood in rigid silence. They were surrounded by impossible life. Enormous beasts grazed in the distance, bodies like armored vehicles, utterly unconcerned with the spacecraft that had just landed in their territory. In the trees, massive carbon fiber organisms stretching 40 meters into the sky, something moved with liquid silence, golden eyes reflecting the shuttle's running lights. Is that Kaelzor's second-in-command, a veteran named Preth who had survived 6 combat engagements, touched Kaelzor's arm with genuine urgency. Warlord. Is that animal watching us? Probably, Marachin said cheerfully. That's a tiger. Don't worry, they don't usually bother people unless you startle them. She considered. Or unless you're between them and food. Or, actually, let me walk you away from the tree line. It could attack? Theoretically. She was already walking, utterly unbothered. But honestly, the mosquitoes are more of a problem this time of year. Mosquitoes, the translation matrix noted helpfully, are a species of parasitic insect. Common. Aggressive. Admiral Voss gave Kaelzor the tour himself. The human fleet facility was carved into a mountain range. The humans called them the Rockies, as if giving affectionate names to geological formations was normal, and it was substantial. More substantial than Kaelzor had expected. More substantial than seemed reasonable for a species that had only recently developed interstellar capability. How many ships? Kaelzor asked. In this sector? About 400 active vessels. Voss pulled up a holographic display. We've got another 1,200 in Deep Space Patrol, about 600 stationed at colony worlds. He pointed to various lights. We've been expanding pretty quickly the last couple centuries. Kaelzor did math. The math was alarming. You have 18,000 ships? Give or take. We're still building. Voss said it the way someone might mention they were still renovating a house. Casually. Incidentally. The Vreth Dominion has 4,200 vessels. Voss nodded, expression politely neutral. That's a solid fleet. We are considered one of the 4 dominant military powers in this quadrant. Voss looked at his display, then back at Kaelzor. So, were you just exploring, or was there something specific you were hoping to find out here? We're pretty far out from the main transit corridors. And there it was, the question underneath the question. Kaelzor had been sent to survey potential resource worlds. To identify inhabited planets too primitive or too small to resist early-stage colonization pressure. Standard Dominion expansion protocol. He looked at Voss. He looked at the mountain fortress around them, built into the bones of a Class 15 Deathworld by creatures who had spent 300,000 years being shaped by it, hardened by it, optimized by it. He thought about the tiger and the treeline and the mosquitoes and the oceans full of monsters and the storms and the tectonic forces and the radiation. And he thought about the fact that this species had looked at all of that and said, fine. We'll adapt. We'll stay. Exploring, Kaelzor said. We were just exploring. Voss smiled again. It reached his eyes this time. Glad to hear it. We'd love to open formal diplomatic channels. Earth is always happy to meet new neighbors. He extended his hand, the same gesture the young lieutenant had offered. Kaelzor understood it now, an offer of contact, unarmored, unafraid. A species that had survived everything their own world could throw at them for 300 millennia, extending an open hand to a warlord of the Vreth Dominion. Kaelzor clasped it. Later, alone in his command chair, watching Earth's blue glow recede on the view screen, Preth leaned close. What do we report to High Command? Kaelzor was quiet for a long moment. We report that the Class 15 world is inhabited, he said finally. And that the inhabitants are friendly. He paused. And that we have no interest in this sector. Preth blinked. And if High Command asks why? Kaelzor thought of Admiral Voss. Calm. Smiling. 18,000 ships and counting. Born on a world that should have killed everything it ever touched, and instead had simply made them stronger. Tell them the survey data was inconclusive, Kaelzor said. And that some death worlds are better left alone. The Galactic Exploration Consortium updated their records that cycle. The Class 15 designation for Sol 3 remained, by unanimous agreement. Below it, someone had added a note in 7 languages. Occupied. Do not disturb.